And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Inspire Writings, or Montblanc's Inspire Writing, part 1 of our Casual Uncial series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is MrMGWard. I'm the teacher who's going to be teaching you Casual Uncial today. Let's talk Uncial script. So Uncial is an extremely old style of writing. It was used primarily or very often in around the 4th to 8th centuries AD. It is 100% majuscule script, so there are no lowercase letters. It is just capital letters. Now, what we're doing today, if you're one of those people who've done Uncial script before, we are taking sort of the calligraphy out of Uncial script. It's still calligraphy, it's still beautiful writing. So today we're doing a casual variation of it, which is we can write with any writing tool. If you have any, I'll be using Montblanc Legrand pens today, but you can write it with any absolute pen you have. We'll do a great job. And another cool thing to note about Uncial, I'm going to be teaching you a specific set of the capital letters. I'll also show you a couple variations of some of the letters. And the coolest thing about Uncial is there are so many variations. Every time it was used, it was different. Oftentimes, even in one page of text, we have one example from the St. Cuthbert Gospel written in the early 18th century. It's a beautiful example of Uncial. You can see here also sort of what I was mentioning. It looks really good in sort of a block form. Uncial is based on rounded forms. Everything's sort of based on the circle, quite tightly spaced. Let's start right away. So I'm going to be using, first and foremost, the pen I'll be using for the most of today is the Meisterstück 146 with a double broad nib. I'll just show a writing sample of this nib. You can see here I get a nice thick downstroke and a slightly narrower horizontal stroke to give me a little bit of variation. You'll see in your notes on the far left, I have given you in black or in thick black. This is more of a look at what casual Uncial or what traditional Uncial would look like. So we're going to be following this monoline variation that I've given you on the right. Starting off with our round letters, we have here our two curves. So first, we have this downstroke here. We're going to start at the top and come around. And then we're going to start at the top and come around. Basically just making half the circle. We're building up to the capital O. So if we do our second one here, this is the top half of the circle. And then we can do the top half of the circle then again. Kimmy asks, how do you write this one left-handed? So if I was going to write left-handed, I would do basically the opposite of what I just said. I would turn my paper this way. So I would write either flat like so and write along this way. Or if you want to write at the 35 degrees, you can turn your paper even more and get to like so. And now this is assuming I'm currently a left-handed underwriter. If I was a left-handed, say you're a push writer or somebody with a hook, then you just change the paper or change your writing angle to work with basically your paper angle to work so you can get the script going. It's fully doable with a left hand or a right hand. We had our first two, we'll call these our principal strokes. In traditional Uncial, we would do, say we were doing our next letter here, the O. When we write an O just in, say, our everyday printing, we would do just all the way around. But in traditional Uncial, we would start up here. We would do our first principal. Then we would come back and do our second principal to get the O. You can just write just like a circle. We move down there to the capital C. We're going to start here basically exactly like we started this O without doing the two principals. We're going to start here, go all the way around, and then just stop. Like so. We'll do this first one that way. We start up at the top here. We come around. We stop at the bottom. I lift. I come over here. And I go around. If that feels like too much work for you, I give you full permission. And again, Calligraphers, I do apologize because this will feel weird for you, but if you want to try it, give it a shot. Start up here at the top, come all the way around just like the C and the O. We get up to the top, instead of just stopping like you did with the O, continue to give it that little tail, like so. Now we'll move on to the Q. We just start with a standard O, like so. And we give the O a little tail, just a compound curve just on the bottom. Like so. All right, now as we move down, we have our capital V. For the V, it has a slight little horizontal line, very slight, just a little tick horizontally, and then we go around. Some people might read that as a little bit of a U. If that looks too much like a U, you can totally could add something like that. All right, moving on to our W. So the W is just a V that stops partway, and then it continues with, it's a bit different. We have here our V stroke. We have horizontal. We come around and down. And then when I hit essentially the same place we hit the bottom of the C, when I hit that spot there, rather than keeping going all the way up like we did with the V, I would go to the top here, I would come down, and then when I hit that point, I would imagine I'm starting back at that spot again, and then do the ending of what was the V, like so. So we're coming horizontally and around. We stop right there. We come up to the top, we pull straight down, we hit that point, and then I curve to end just like we ended the V, like so. All right, next up, we're going to have a couple lines. So these are our round letter forms with horizontal elements to them. So starting off, we have to make a horizontal line. You can see here in traditional, we would have that horizontal line. It would come straight. You can see that where we have that approximately 30 degrees, that's the nib angle. You can see that very plainly in the traditional variation. It's not quite as important when we're doing casual uncial. We're just doing our straight line like so. In this instance, just pulling a line across horizontally a full space. But here we go up and around like so. Up and around. Start again, just a little, call it a squiggle, just a little compound curve there, like so. So to take these forms and turn them into letters, we can start with the T, probably one of my favorite of the uncial letters, quite a fan. We have our horizontal line that goes right along the top, and then I lift my pen, come back here, and do essentially, we have our first principal stroke, but unlike the hairline here, we're going to continue it so it ends just like the capital C ended. So now we do our E. So with the E, we're just going to make a C. We're going to do the C that we did earlier. So we start over on the right-hand side. We come around. In traditional uncial, I would start the C here because you always start at the beginning of that principal stroke. I would start my C here. I would go to there. Then I would lift it, come back, and add the top right. So that's how I would do that. From there, I would come in down to the center point with a straight line. And then I would do a tiny little squiggle or tilde in the middle there. Now, if we're doing that in casual uncial, you can totally break it down that way with 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes, or you can do the casual version and do this C in 1 stroke, lift and come around, and give that little compound curve. That's personally how I write it, rather than breaking it down. Our next page of handouts is our rounded letter forms with a vertical element. So we're just starting with a vertical line. And this is just starting up at the top and coming straight down. Again, up at the top and coming straight down. So when we have our N here, we're going to start at the top. We do our downstroke. And then I'm going to come back up to the top. And I'm going to come over, around. And then when I hit the baseline, I can stop there. Or you can add a little horizontal line on the bottom, which I really like to add. And what this looks like, if I turn it upside down, a letter we haven't learned yet. I'm realizing I didn't teach you the U yet, but we have a capital U. When we do the M, it's basically almost the same as the W, except the left side is a straight line. Then I lift my pen, I do an N, but when I hit my my farthest point to the left of this first little circle form, I'm going to stop and make a straight line down. And you don't have to lift your pen there. You can do that all in one stroke if you want. Then I lift here, connect at that point, come around, and I have my circular finish to come that way. So again, we write our downstroke, I lift, I come around, I get to the left side, or sorry, right side, I come down straight, I come back up, and I curve, rounded, like so. Now we get into our H, so our second ascender stroke. We had the D on the last page. Doing one that way would look like this. I would have my straight line all the way down, like so. Another way that it's taught in traditional is the width of a nib. So they would have their broad pen, they would come here. The width of the nib would be about so they would come that high above. And that's how far, that's how they would measure it. Now, if we do the U, this is the same, starts the same as the V. We get to there, again, starts the same as also the W. We came here, we went around, we stopped, we came up to the top, and we made our straight line. We're going to just keep that straight line going all the way to the baseline. So we end up with an upside down N. If we want to turn the U into a Y, we just extend just like the N, just like the H was to the N. We come over, we come around, we come down from the top, and we just go a little below, or in this instance, a quarter below the baseline that we're writing there. We write the G just like we would write a C. So we're going to start here. We come around. So from there, as I come around here, then I lift, I do a slight horizontal line, and then a downstroke. And again, that downstroke just going approximately 1/4 of the space below the baseline. Next up, we have a P. We come to the top here. We come all the way down, slightly below the baseline, a quarter below the baseline. I come back up, and I do the opposite of a C, so essentially an upside down C. Start here, come all the way around, like so. Next up, we have an F. This variation of the F, again, I'm quite a fan of it. It does extend above the X height. So we are going to start here at the top. Again, if I was doing traditional, I would start here. I would do my left stroke and down, slightly below the baseline. Then I would come back up here and do my curve to the right. Because we're doing a casual variation, I start over here all the way to the right, come over and down. Once I get this point here, I'm pretty much doing a straight line all the way down. Once we hit there, we get our tiny little line here, tiny little straight horizontal line on the baseline. And then when we do the J, the exact opposite. We have our straight line coming down from the top. Traditionally, we would stop there and do our stroke here that connects. So we would have stroke 1 and stroke 2, but because we're casual funcialing it today, I'm making up words. We come down, we're just going to do it all in one. Now, when we have gotten through all of our letters, now I want to really quickly give the homework or something we can work on before our next session, and then we'll dive back into some questions. We're just going to put some words together. So for an example, these are all words that are made up of the letters we learned today. So we have unique, we have our horizontal, come around, straight line, our curve, straight line, and we have our Q, which is our nice circle. We have our compound curve underneath the Q. Then we have our another U. And our E. So we start with the C. We come to the middle and our little compound curve out. And we get unique. Making sure, as you can see here, we have our what we call X height and our baseline, or top and bottom. All right, so you can go through here and just practice writing these words. And then the last thing you have in your notes today, before I dive into questions, is a tiny version. But that is it. That is Casual Uncial. Like I said, my goal for this class is for you guys to want to write. So don't get bogged down in the details. Focus on trying to keep things round, trying to keep things open, trying to keep things spaced nice, or the letters spaced nice themselves, the shape of the letter. Don't worry too much about word spacing and whatnot. We'll get into that. And then have fun. And like I said, if you have questions, feel free to ask me. I hope you had fun. And I'll see you guys on October 10th. And please, everybody, have fun with Funchal. Bye.